All right, what's up, bitches? It's Jay again. I'm here with my producer, Wood. We're starting anew, right? It's Overplay Podcast, but we're starting anew. We're talking about D&D. We're talking about things related to D&D. We're talking about a bunch of nerd stuff, just like we usually do, right? So we're going to talk about, animes that are related to this type of stuff, more of like a fantasy-esque, right? Again, we're going full nerd, just like we usually do here. Because I think a lot of people are starting to get more into D&D now. A lot of people are starting to get pretty interested in it. So I'm going to bust some myths here today. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, kind of explain it to some of the people who don't know about it and are maybe interested.
COVID forced people to stay indoors.
That's true.
Which forced people to then talk to other people that are indoors, which forced people to then inquire about Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly. A lot of people were playing with Zoom because, again, it's another way to like interact with other people, right? And I think it's a fun way to interact with other people. And so, yeah, we're just going to talk about that. We're going to kind of dive into some of the things that that make it fun and, again, myths and stuff that we're going to talk about. So, obviously, we're drinking. And
because I feel like that's what I have to do to get through Dungeons and Dragons.
And
it makes it more fun, but then at the same time, when I have friends that ask me about it, and hopefully you can dispel some of this, but when my friends ask me about it, I'm like, well, yeah, I was drinking.
Yeah, well, no. And I get that, right? Like I said, when I DM, which is a dungeon master, and for people
sounds fancy.
Yeah, it does sound. It's really, I'm a man of titles. So a dungeon master is kind of the guy that puts on all the stories, right? So I put on. So again, it's me, and then you have the players, right? And so for me, it's the telling of the story. And so when I am the dungeon master, especially, I always kind of relate this to being a stripper. And the reason I say this, I talk to a lot of strippers it's just like a happenstance. And when I do talk to them and talk about like how they got on stage at first and stuff like that, they always talk about that, they had to drink or do heroin to get on stage. And so a lot of times when I first started doing it, I would drink to kind of loosen up, right? To kind of loosen up, kind of give me a reason to be a little more silly than I usually am. Just you're kind of uptight, especially when you're around a bunch of people and you're going to be role playing and stuff like that. It can get kind of nerve wracking, and so especially when you're playing with a new group or new people, it's kind of nerve wracking.
Yeah, it's nerve wracking. It can wreck them too. It can wreck those.
Well, no, it's nerve wracking because racking, whatever. Damn autocorrect. You know what I mean?
Nobody likes the verbal autocorrect.
Yeah, fucking verbal autocorrect. What can you do? Anyway, so we're gonna talk about that. So, like I said, I've noticed a lot of people when I start talking to them. One, I'm surprised with how many people have already played and like keep it a secret because they don't want their families to get hunted down and killed. And so, a lot of them will they'll be like, "Oh yeah, dude, I played D&D once. It was a lot of fun." A lot of times, people have a hard time finding groups that consistently play. That's like a huge deal, right? Because you got to find, everybody has to find the certain day that they can play, and then showing up every day. That time can get kind of hard for people, which I get with like schedules and stuff like that.
Sure.
That's the reason why I like drinking during it as well.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to derail your direction here, but so Stranger Things, have you seen it? Netflix?
I have seen it. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Dungeons and Dragons took quite a bump in sales because of that.
It did.
What's your feeling on how that's portrayed versus what it actually is?
It's very similar. Obviously, it's kids playing, right? So the monsters that they face, which, sorry, I don't want to like brag over here, but the miniatures that they use, I happen to have those.
Oh,
right. I have to have the original miniatures.
Look at you, everybody.
So they're like, this is a monolith or whatever the hell it is, and I'm like, I have that thing. Hey, I have that.
You're screaming at the screen. Hey, God,
hey. Dude,
brother,
dude,
I'm
if you
over
don't,
here. I
if you
got
don't
that.
think I painted it exactly like theirs and I bragged to all my friends, yeah,
That you had it
yeah,
first?
Yeah, I had it first. I'm
Look, they copied me.
I had it before it was cool. So I did. I do like that it like shines a light, right? Because D&D is one of those things. It's not like my favorite band where I want it to like be for me, right?
Okay.
I actually like when more people do it because it's fun to talk about characters and kind of like how they do things, and I like to learn, and so I like to hear how people do things and see how much fun they've had with it. And I think it's one of those things that I'm really glad it shined a light on it. It doesn't shine a whole lot of light. I was surprised. I thought D&D was going to be, because when it's really funny. It's funny that you actually bring that up, because most of the time I'll be like, oh, I played D&D. They're like, so you like Stranger Things? Yeah, sure. They're kind of related. I mean,
but
don't wrong.
It's not the correlation.
Like
so
it.
yeah, well, Stranger Things, at least I feel like, is like they're trying to almost bring like the reality of what D&D is and make it a show, because the things they associate it with is like, the game they're playing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah, there's some other story to it, because otherwise it would be just LARPing.
Exactly. And I do like I said, I did like that it shined a light on it and that it started to become this. You can definitely tell after Stranger Things, it started becoming a norm, right?
Yeah.
You do have some actors that play
a little
it
more
stuff.
mainstream.
Yeah, a little more mainstream.
Yeah.
It's not as like hey, I got to tell some guys would play it forever, and then like Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel played Dungeons and Dragons. And that's kind of like how he kind of got into acting and stuff like that.
Right.
You act when you're playing, and so.
Okay, so I got two questions. I'm gonna go first one, and maybe you'll answer the next one in a minute. But so
am I better than Vin Diesel? Yes. I mean, I'm not better looking. I mean, that's arguable, but yes, I am better than him. Sorry, keep going.
I think you could be a better actor than Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you,
My phone. This can of beer could be a better actor. No offense, Vin.
He's gonna find you and whip your ass. So he played whatever. So you always hear, and I've heard this before, and I'm sure you have as well. Is like, so when you say, well, yeah, I played Dungeons and Dragons, and somebody will always that guy in the crowd that's like, well, I'm a man, I don't do that kind of thing. They'll be like, what kind of level dungeon master wizard are you? 75?
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
A lot of times, the reason why I kind of just laugh it off is it's usually those guys who afterwards are like, hey, so like if I wanted to play and see how you idiots play, how would that work out? I'm like, all right, cool, let's play. Like I said, it's surprising how many times I've played with people who are badasses, and usually they start off with that. So what do you like, a level 35 wizard hunter? And you're like, oh, okay, real funny. And then they're like, so how can I play? And you're like, all right. So I usually kind of just take it straight, because it's not a big deal to me. I don't really care, what they think, because you can make everything kind of oversimplify it and see how stupid it is. Call of Duty is just like, Instagram models. No offense to any of you guys, but I mean, it's all the same thing, right? We're all playing pretend.
Right.
So, for me, I think it's just one of those things that you kind of just get over. You do, like I said, that's usually from the guy's standpoint, right? That's usually what they say, and it's usually when girls are around. And that's another thing is one of the myths that I always see is like, hey, girls don't play. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a bunch of dudes who are virgins who want to play. Surprisingly.
Yeah, I found that not to be the case.
Yeah. Surprisingly, when we play, and again, maybe it's just my groups, maybe it's just I'm a ladies' man, you know what I mean? But
That's it.
That's it. Girls play it actually quite a bit. You get a lot of girls playing, which is nice. They're usually more the cosplayers, because usually another myth is that people are dressing up in their parents' basement and stuff, and that's not the case. Like, usually
I don't feel like that's true.
No, yeah, a lot of them are it's just people dressed in their normal clothes, and you go and play. I mean, obviously you get some of those people that kind of will dress up in a certain thing. They have like certain like a certain sweater they wear or whatever.
Sure.
But usually it's the girls I've noticed that actually play. They're usually ones with the elf ears, and they're like, they talk a little bit better. They just do more acting. They're not scared. And surprisingly, it's not like girls are like it's actually one of the girls that we played with. I'm gonna throw her name out. Her name was Chelsea, and that's all I'm throwing out. I watch her window. I don't need any of you other dudes out there. So, hogging my tree, and she is gorgeous. When I first met her, and she was like, "Yeah, I like to play. I'm a cleric." I'm like, "So do I marry you now, or like, how does that work?" And it takes everything in me to not have every one of my characters try to marry her character, just so that in some form of reality I'm with her. And then girls are very interested in playing, because again, I think it's a fun thing that you kind of get a role play and you don't have to get boned during. You know what I mean? Like, so it's all the fun of the foreplay of relationships without having to do it. So
that sounds like it's. That
right
sounds
up
like
women's house,
yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
sign me up for that.
Yeah. And it's really, I do like having women play, because it is so awkward as a man to get hit on by another man when I'm playing an NPC, a non-playable character.
Okay.
It's always uncomfortable to me when you'll be playing like a barmaid and they'll be like, "So how you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm still a man. So how about you back the hell off?" You know what I mean? Like,
please leave me alone.
Yeah. Well, and it's really when they start getting graphic, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how girls act in these situations, because usually girls don't act that way with me, and it's usually the opposite, where they pepper spray me, and so or slap me with a restraining order. So for me, I'm like, I don't know how to do what this is, but so it's kind of nice when you get those girls playing, because it adds role playing. Something I've always wanted to do and I've never done, that I will eventually do when I have the money, because it's costly, is I want to hire an escort.
Costly.
No, it's costly.
Okay.
It's a D&D word. Anyway, I want to hire an escort to just play female characters. So she gets paid by the hour, but she doesn't have to have sex afterwards. So she's probably happy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all she does is sit there, and I'm like, all right, here are your characters. You got to learn them. Go. I could probably pay actresses to do that, right? And then
you could. Yeah, I think you could. I feel like you probably have the budget for that.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, no, that's Angelina Jolie. I'll hit you up. Anyway. It's one of those things, like I said, a lot of people have the myth that it's, a bunch of old fat dudes, which YouTube don't help, but it's a bunch of fat old dudes in hoods going like, "Oh, I play a monk," and then but a lot of times, again, it's just normal people playing, having fun, drinking, and
so if somebody regular Joe out there is like, well, I've been playing with this group of buddies for 10 years, and they've kind of let it go, disbanded, whatever, could they rejoin you and pick up where they left off with the other group, or do they have to like work so I've always been under the impression that you have to like work your characters up, like you have to build them up.
So a lot of the times when you have another character get brought in, so it's a different world, right? Because now, when I play a dungeon master, you're in my world now, right? It's the world that I've created. I've created societies, cities, towns, maps. Like I have a map of every town in this area, of climates and everything. So it's not like World of Warcraft per se, right? So you don't have a character that you just switch over. You would have to, no, don't get me wrong. Most DMs, Dungeon Master, could come in and say, "Hey, what was your character before? Yeah, let's just switch it right over because you're about the level that these other characters are."
Okay.
But a lot of the times, I personally try to keep all the characters around the same level, right? Because I don't want there to seem like there is a main character and other people are the side characters, because I want everybody to seem like they have their moments in the sun, right? And I meant in the light, but whatever. I'm like 8 drinks in, people. 12 drinks, whatever. So for me,
sometimes you drink.
Yeah, sometimes you drink. Sometimes you drink too much before you start a podcast. So, so a lot of times you bring them in, and again, I can usually put any character into play. Now, sometimes I usually am a little more stingy with how much money people get, so it kind of depends. Like some people will just throw random items. So you do have to talk with your DM before you kind of jump in. But yeah, no, technically you can. You can and you can't, right? You can put your character back in, but it's dealing with the DM, and you might have to tweak your character a little bit, which isn't a big deal.
Okay, so So I guess for our listeners out there, for your listeners rather, what are you hoping? What are you hoping to do with this podcast? This is more of your intro, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are you hoping to accomplish with this?
So I'm hoping to give people an intro to D&D, right? I'm hoping to give you guys kind of what to expect, how to get better with certain things. Is like if you're going to be a DM, a dungeon master, I'll show you some of the tricks that I use to try to make things kind of over the top so that people feel more like immersed into their world. I'll talk about certain classes and how I play them and how I think that people should portray them. And obviously it's all up to you, right? But I think a lot of people think that certain classes have to be put into certain things, and it's going to be to like ease beginners in, right? If you've never played
Mhm.
before and you're like, hey, I don't want to just jump in with all these people, you could watch this and listen to this podcast, listen to me talk about nerd stuff that so all of you other nerds that are out there, you guys can kind of enjoy the content as far as like we're going to be talking about other stuff. But then the new people will see like, oh, okay, well, this is how he does this. That's something I can learn from, and hopefully get people past the it's just a nerd thing, and that
I honestly
it's
don't know that
uncomfortable.
that's going to happen because
No.
since the 80s, it's been a nerd thing.
Yeah, it has been. But again, dude, I'm so surprised by how many people come up and be like, hey, man, if I get a group of friends, so again, I got to sign like some type of non-disclosure. You guys all have like documents and stuff I got to sign. Thanks. You'd think I was like Stormy Daniels, but no, I was just trying to play D&D, and they're like, no, sign this paperwork. But a lot of people want to like get, have some drinks, have some fun, play, and do this fun little experiment. And then it's funny how many people afterwards too are just like, hey, I want to do that again. That was a lot of fun. Because you get to have some of these badass moments, and it's something really. This whole thing is just going to be talking with fellow nerds about certain things,
Mhm.
and then easing people into this nerdum that they can slowly, hopefully, get into and actually play themselves. So
Started to enjoy it. So, so like if someone out there wants to hit you up and find out a little bit more about what's going on, where do they reach you at?
So, the Overplay Podcast at gmail.com. You guys can email me. I check it every day. All one day. And you guys also, my Facebook will be up pretty soon, so you guys can also message me there. Anything you guys want to talk about, learn about, discuss. Again, I'm also going to be discussing like cosplay and anime and other stuff that involves this nerd realm. And so again, that'll be on YouTube, Twitch. Get a hold of me. When I'm on live streaming, please chat. Let me know what you guys want me to talk about, and I can reach out to some of you guys.
So we're hoping, and like you said in the intro, I'm just the producer. I just sit over here and make it feel better about himself with his nerdum.
It is pretty nice.
I wear the colors to the podcast, which are yellow and black. He doesn't, but
This was off the cuff, so I'm going to be honest.
so
Otherwise, I'd be wearing my suit.
yeah, fair enough. But so on Twitch, we're hoping to be able to live stream some. What do you call a session? A session?
Yeah,
Like, what do you
session,
call
yeah.
it? A session live on Twitch, guys. So if you're out there and you got an interest in it, check us out at Twitch, and it's the Overplay Podcast on Twitch. Facebook will be the same. We got some kinks to work out there. We'll be up on that. Also, YouTube, it's going to be the same everywhere. The Overplay Podcast, and it's the Overplay Podcast at gmail.com. Check it out on that. And this is going to go as a actual just audio podcast as well, right?
Yeah.
Where at?
So it'll be on pretty much all the podcasts. So you're going to have your iTunes. You're going to have your Spotify, Anchor. It's everywhere. So, yeah, just tune in and listen to it, and let me know what you guys think.
So check it out, guy. That's he's over here trying to just make some people's lives a little bit better in these times of quarantine. And with that, I got to say, you got anything else to say?
No, I don't. I just want to say thank you guys, and have fun nerding out.